Hey everyone, hello and good evening. Welcome to Shapr3d. So today we're going to be drawing a stop sign, and I drew that sketch there just to reference the size. I need 7 feet. That's approximately how high it is. Then we need to draw an octagon because the stop sign has 8 sides. The problem with octagons, however, they don't end up straight, as you can see. So what we need to do is draw an octagon lined up with the line, and then we need to rotate it by 22.5 degrees because that's how much each section has. And yes, it rotated with that line as well, but we could just delete that because we use it as a reference to put our stop sign at a certain height. So now that we did that, we can go ahead and start working on our stop sign. However, I wanted to fill in this square, so what we can do is select all the sketches and then choose the equal constraint because I want them all to be the same, right? And then we need to move them into place. One way to accomplish that is by simply moving. So we can zoom in when we can't get what we want a little bit. There are other methods to do this. Obviously, this is just the quickest one to accomplish. So now that we've filled in our square, I like how it looks. We can start working on it. So the first thing to do is extrude it, and we want 0.3 inches approximately. I don't know how much it is, but 0.25, we'll settle on that. So what we need to do now is sketch on top of that, and we need to offset first, which is technically a sketch. So we're going to do 1 inch, and then we're going to add some text. As you know, the stop sign has stop, and we're going to make it bold Arial. Always try to do it in the center when possible, and 5 inches should be good. I already did this before, that's why I have it down. So I forgot how to do capital letters with my Apple Pencil, so I just go ahead and use the keyboard on this one. But if you remember how, tell me in the comments so I don't have to Google it. But now that we have that, we move our sketch just a little bit away so that we can project it onto the three-dimensional body, and we're going to do that as edges, not sketches. So now we can go ahead and make it look like a stop sign by changing the colors. And don't forget to select the insides of the letters. We're going to make that red, obviously, and then instead of using the materials page, we're just going to change the color real quick because this is like a rough draft prototype kind of thing. So we're going to make it like a light gray to match aluminum or steel. And so yeah, we can also probably do the same thing to the back just so we have that great visual. And also don't forget that we need to have something to hold it, and we can do that by sketching on the top. So let's select the top there, just double click it, and we're going to draw a square. A 2x2 inch metal tube, square tube is like something pretty typical. And the reason you have to move it, usually why I move my sketches, is because like if you choose offset here, and it offsets off the edge of the model that's already there. So we need to go ahead and move that. We can double click it or select a different methods to do this, but let's move it 0.25 inches. That's the depth of that model. And now we go ahead and offset by, again, 0.25. And don't worry about rounding the corners. We'll do that later when it's already a 3D model. So let's go ahead and change that to feet and extrude that to 7 feet so it goes all the way to the ground. And typically, yes, it would be longer since it's also in the ground, but we're just drawing it, so don't worry too much about that. But you can use this for other things. And one thing I do like to make my life easier is the pattern tool, right? So we need to make the holes for the bolts to hold it in place, but it'll be much easier that we don't have to draw every single little circle. So once we have that, 0.5 looks good. Once we have that, we can simply use the pattern tool, transform pattern tool, and we can go down by 7 feet approximately. Although if you measure this more accurately, it would be better because like from edge to edge, because if you do 7 feet, it goes below the model. But just FYI. And I tried this a couple times. I'm gonna skip through that and just make it 80 because that's what looked good. And the problem is I had my iPad pretty dim just because I don't want bugs coming in here. So it's hard to see. And one thing I realized, that once you select them all, you can't extrude them, which is sad because it should be an option. But since we don't have that option yet, we have to do one at a time. And like I said, I had a dim screen, so this is pretty difficult for me, even though you can't see that because you probably have it on brightness. But I quickly realized that this is not a good solution for this specific model. This approach is wrong. So what we need to do is let's stop right now before we go on any further, and let's just extrude one, and let's make sure it goes across both sides so that it doesn't get stuck on the same face or something, because that sometimes causes error. So let's move it a little bit out, and we're going to use the pattern tool on this extruded body already, and this is going to make it way easier. Watch. So we're going to go ahead and just duplicate the same size that we had before, 7 feet, and not 80 but 80 sections, but 7 feet long. So we're going to do 7 feet and 80 items, and once we have that, we can go and click done, and then tools and subtract, and we're going to select our square tube, and then we go into the menu and choose the linear pattern tool, because they're all connected until we disconnect them, right? So this makes it easier. And just make sure that you don't have anything purple that you want subtracted, because sometimes it does do that for some reason. But let's go ahead and hide that, and we have our square tube, and the little hole thing is from both sides, so that's great. And we can now fill at the edges to make it look more realistic, because remember, the tubes are extruded in this certain way and then drilled through, and this makes it just much better looking too. And we'll change the color to match the stop sign, and now we can simply finish this off by drawing that bolt. And we could just hide this body and use the same sketch we have there to extrude it all the way through, and then we'll replace the face so that we don't have to worry too much about finding the dimensions, and we'll sketch right on that to make the bolt edge, because you know there's like a flat bolt that you can't unscrew because it's going to have like a nut on the other side. So let's replace the face, and then we're going to sketch on that part and just make a bigger circle. And again, you see all those lines there, so we're going to have to select multiple things, but just draw a center line because we're going to revolve it. And now that we've selected everything, we click revolve on the center, and I clicked done, but I should have clicked 180 degrees, so it only did the half. But no worries, in this case we could just subtract it. So we go to tools, subtract the ball from the stop sign, and then delete the excess that we have, and we remain with just the half bolt that we have. And I know this is not super realistic, but it gives you the visual that you need, and that's what we're looking after in this case. So now we need to open up the square tube so we can see how much we need to extrude that piece, because we still need to add that nut to make it look realistic. Like, you can use this as a game asset or for your projects, whatever. There's so many things you can do with 3D designs, like especially if you have the right file format, right? That's very important. So what we're gonna do is just draw a hexagon, because that's how most nuts are, and we're gonna simply extrude that onto the bolt that we have. It's without thread. I'm not gonna bother with thread in this one, and I do want that to extend just a little bit, makes it look more realistic, because otherwise it'll, like if you go to visualization, it'll look like it has no edges, but this way it looks like separate bodies. And now all we have to do to finish up is just to copy it over on the bottom, and we can simply do that by moving it and selecting copy. And then if you go down approximately and you want to adjust it and you move it over again, it's going to copy it again. So make sure you unclick that copy function and then you move it. All right, so now that we have it there, we are basically done with our stop sign. I hope this helps you learn how to do a little bit of design of practical things. I know you see these every day as you drive, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to make a complete stop so you don't get no tickets. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Here at Shapr3d, our goal is to inspire and empower you to create your own amazing projects. Please support our work so that we can keep doing it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to see more.